Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast with your hosts, Jason Balin and Ian Horowitz.
What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing today?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. So, everyone, today's a very, very, very special day. Not only is it, what's the day? Tuesday, May 19th, but it's also Ian's birthday right here.
What's up?
We might have to do a celebratory happy birthday dance at some point today. But
are you saying happy birthday to me?
I might be.
Hell yeah.
Might be. We might have to sing as a group when Aaron hops on. So cool. So May 19th, Tuesday. If this is the first time ever tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you coming to check this out. We promise it'll be worth your while. We're gonna have a lot of fun and a lot of good stuff. If you're tuning in and you're a regular viewer or listener, no matter if you listen to this on our podcast or if you're watching this live on Facebook or on YouTube or on any of our other channels, and you like what you hear, you like what you see, we'd appreciate it if you could share the broadcast and share it with your friends, because that's how it goes. If you know other real estate investors, real estate agents, things like that.
Government watch groups are going to shut us down now because you said the word share.
You're allowed to say share.
Oh.
You're allowed to say share. Huh?
You're not allowed to type it. The algorithm is going to kick us out of people's timelines now, dude.
Stop. What do you know?
Anything, honestly.
And again, if anyone wants to comment questions as we are going through this Facebook Live here, feel free to comment, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. So we're still in the ever-changing and fun environment, but real estate investing as a whole is going strong. There's a lot of buyer transactions. There's a lot of selling transactions. Hard money lenders are still actively lending, the ones who have access to private capital. And as a whole, it seems like a lot of real estate investors are very optimistic of where the market is going. Now, we like to use the word cautious as well when we use the word optimistic, but there's still a lot of real estate deals being had out there, and we're seeing them every day. So, make sure you're actively keep an eye out on everything, and we'll go over some tips and tricks along. We have Aaron Foster here from Hometown Heroes. He's going to hop on here in a second with a really cool study on a project that he bought in Southern Maryland. It's a 2-unit project. I'm not going to go into too many details because we'll get him to talk about that, but we're going to talk about how we found the property, how we financed the property, maybe a little bit behind the scenes of the construction process, how we got it leased up, and how he got end game financing on it as well, long-term financing, I should say, because he had a short-term loan on it on the acquisition. What else you got to add, birthday boy?
Nothing, man. I just got back from an Austin trip with Steve Cavanaugh, who we interviewed. Did a site tour with him over on a storage facility. It was very interesting business model. Looks very exciting. So that was fun. The cool part was I got to go and I actually sat down and ate in a restaurant in Louisiana, and the memories. When was the last time you sat down and actually ate in a restaurant? So that
we already talked about that.
We
talked about that.
That long.
I do know it was in Richmond in a soccer tournament in the first week of March.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So it's, for me, it's been over 2 months.
No, yeah. So either way, Louisiana looked like it was live and well, and we're back here in Maryland doing our thing, and excited to bring Aaron on and hear about his crazy deal that I know. I was like, hey, I'll definitely steer clear of this one. And so he always finds the most interesting deals to get done. So excited to hear. Let's see what he's got going on.
Cool. Well, what's up, Aaron? How are you?
What's up, guys? How are you? Happy birthday, Ian.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, man.
So Aaron, you know what? What's a good way to explain this? What is different between you and every other guest that we've had on this show?
I put on dad jokes on Facebook.
Nope. But close. You're the only one so far who's been a repeat guest.
All right.
You're the only one who's been on this show twice, and we'll continue it. And I know pretty much all the guests we talked to were like, listen, soon as stuff goes, and as soon as this craziness kind of goes longer and longer, we'll have you back just to see where your current business is. But as of now, you're the only one. So congrats
Sweet.
on that.
Thanks.
So the majority of the stuff we're going to talk about today is, and we'll give you a chance to give everybody a quick background about you in a second. And then we'll start with that. And then let's dive into this case study of this project in Indian Head that you have. And let me know when you want me to share a screen share as well. And we can go through that as well.
Okay. So last time we spoke, we talked about all the unique deals I find. And I try to make them, I don't want to find things that are inside the box because everybody has the same cookie cutter style that they want these 3-bed, 2 baths and how to make it work. And that kind of everything falls within those spectrums on people's Zillow searches and Redfin searches, what pops up and they have to fight for them. So it's like kind of like fighting for scraps. So you got to think outside the box to go after certain deals. And this is one of the deals I found just doing random searches that kind of fit outside the box. So it's 2 houses on one lot on one tax deed. On the side of a cliff that's waterfront with views for miles around. You can see Virginia. It's down by a military base in Indian Head. I think they do air warfare missile and testing. Really cool place. It's a kind of a B-class neighborhood. It's kind of the way it's set up is it's right next to probably a low B, high C-class neighborhood, but it's its own separate entity with maybe a dozen houses. Yeah, it's a cool property. We'll go over the numbers and do some before and after pictures. The way I found it was the searches, just the normal stupid searches I'll do, like maybe I'll do waterfront, or I'll do specifically just for waterfront houses, or I'll do specifically something for the type of houses, or 2 units, 2 houses, or multi-units, or multiple houses. And this one popped up on my radar, and it had been sitting on the market for I think 5-6 months, and nobody could buy it because 1, there was no comps, and 2, it was in disrepair. So you had to overcome 2 obstacles. The first one, so the way we went about going after it was obviously hard money, because you guys did the hard money loan on it, and then I paid for the repairs on it, and then I had something lined up in the back end where the federal credit union, or the credit union I use, Nimio up in Frederick, said that they would refinance into a regular loan. So that's what we did.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you know what? What's interesting in general is, we've done about 3,000 private loans, hard money loans, since we've started, and it's very rare that we do a loan on a single lot that has multiple single family houses on that. And the one you did in PG County, I think was the first, where you had 3. There was 3 houses on one lot, and then I did another one actually in PG County that it was a single lot with 2 houses, and then this might have been the third one. So in general, and it's funny because ever since we've done those, I've kept an eye out on them, and there are a good amount of them like that. Out of our Philadelphia office, we've done quite a few deals in the Philly and New Jersey market similar to that, and they're good opportunities. It's one lot, and in essence, there's multiple single family houses or multiple buildings on those lots, and those can be turned into multiple creative opportunities when they come up.
Yeah. So one of the things, this is the Temple Hills one's the last one I did. The Indian Head was the first one I did. And it's great because it's you can have multiple revenue streams. It's no different than having either a duplex or a triplex or a quad. And most people don't think about getting one. The hardest part for this is getting a bank to finance it and being able to comp it, because if you don't fit in a very specific bubble, a lot of appraisers don't know how to comp these things or appraise them. So I got lucky on both accounts, and I got a great company I'm working with, Nimio out of Frederick, like I mentioned before. The thing with them is you have to live, work, or worship in Frederick County in order to be a member up there or have a business up there. So yeah, they've been great to work with. Shout out to Nimio. They got great rates. They got great loans. They're easy to work with, and they're more old school, where you can walk in and have a conversation with, or call them up and say, hey, this is what I have going on. Can we work on it together?
Sorry, before we get to the next question, I don't know feedback as it may.
You got a ton of feedback.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there either.
How we do this, man? When do y'all have it?
So how specifically did you find the deal? You said, were you coming MLS? Is this a strategic search that you have set up all the time, or how did you specifically find it?
So this one, I think if I remember correctly, I did a search for waterfront property, and this one popped up on the radar, and I thought about it for a while, and I was like, it's Indian Head. It's kind of far from me. I'm not sure if I really want to take a swing at this. It looks like the houses are beat up. And I thought about it for a while, and I think I saw it go pending once or twice. And then I was like, all right, let's take a look at this thing. So I called Danielle Mannix, who's an old friend of mine. She's a good realtor out of DC. And we went down to Indian Head, took a trip down there. And she sends me the wildest things now that she knows that I pick up the wildest things. So we went down there and took a look at it and put an offer on it, and it was accepted. And from there, it was just one of those moving forward. Like I started setting up different specific searches for either waterfront property or specifically for multi-units. You can still find them. It's just, I think my Temple Hills houses, we tried to use my Indian Head houses as one of the comps for the appraisal, but it was too far away. But yeah, it's just a typical Zillow search. Like if you want something that's multi-unit, then type in some multi-unit. If you want Redfin, they have multi-unit. If I think my tip for the day is, if you search for multi-units on Redfin, do year built and don't do anything new, because it'll just show you the new townhouses and condos they're putting up. So if you go to 2017 or 18, you do multi-units, then it'll show you stuff that's older that actually fits your parameters, not a new build or new construction.
Nice. All right. You want me to bring the screen share up?
Yeah.
Hey, Ian, you got this going on two of your phones or something?
I'm live on Instagram, but it shouldn't affect it.
Okay. All right, hang on one sec. I'm gonna put this up. Can everybody see that? All right. So you want to go through this real quick? Hopefully there's no other sensitive info on your screen.
No. This is I actually wrote this out just specifically for this podcast. So obviously the purchase price was $160. Closing costs, these are round numbers because round numbers are a whole lot number than going back through and looking at my data. Purchase price is $160. Closing cost was about $10,000. Renovation cost was about $90,000, and the holding cost and financing fee with hard money, we'll say, is about $9,000. So my all into this property was $269. So before I did any of this, I gave myself an estimate for how much it was going to cost for renovation. I think my estimate was like $80,000. Obviously, of course, I went over, and I had it appraised beforehand, before any of this took place. And he said it'll appraise for $285. And I was like, all right, cool, $285. I'll do a 80% loan to value at the time. In my mind, it made sense. And then I think I had to get a business mortgage on this thing. And either way, I was like, all right, I'll have some equity left in it. But when we talked about this last time, I always have certain things I want to buy. I want to buy waterfront property. I want to buy a castle. I want to buy a lighthouse. So this was my waterfront property. So I didn't mind being out of pocket. If you want to look at the BRRRR strategy before the BRRRR was even around, this is what I was doing. This was the bread and butter of how can I renovate this thing, get my money back out. So my parameters specifically are, I want to make $400 a door net, not gross, but net, after all those taxes and fees and property management stuff and whatever else. I want to make $400 a door. So this one fit those parameters, and I want to recover all that money within 2 years. So that being said, when the appraisal was done, it was appraised for $285. When the appraisal was completed, or the renovation was completed, it was appraised for $325. So the bank gave me a loan about $244,000, and I was able to pay off the hard money loan with hard money bankers, and then wrap this into a different loan, a long-term loan. So I'm still out of pocket, say $25,000, right? Not terrible. It's still a cash flowing machine, because my mortgage for the property every month is about $1,850 or $22,200 a year. Here's where my moneymaker is house one rents for $1,325. House two rents for $1,350. So my gross income, this isn't going to share right. My gross income every month is $2,875. So it's a profit of about $1,000 a month, or $34,500 a year. That's where I'm at specifically with my gross. So once I take all my fees out, my property manager costs 8%. Again, they're great. Ridgeway and Compass down in, I think they're in La Plata or Waldorf now. great property managers. Got nothing but good things to say about them. So the gross income for this property, $34,500, annual mortgage minus for property fees. So I'm at a profit of $5,475. So if you break that down, I'm making a profit of $568.75 a month, or $6,800 a year. So that's with if I have a turnover every year. So one of the benefits of having a waterfront property is it's waterfront property. People want to live at a waterfront property, especially if it's not in a flood zone, because I'm on the side of a cliff. So my turnover has been minimal. So my actual income every year is an additional $2,875. So my net is about $808 a month, which is $400 a door, which is what my goal is, and that's kind of what I went for. So normally, like I said earlier, I want to get all my money back, everything, my renovation costs, my down payments, my holding costs, everything back within 24 months. That's my goal. Did this one meet expectations? No, it's a 31-month turnaround. I've already recovered all my money now. If I have turnovers every year, it'd been 44 months. But this is kind of a breakdown financially, how to look at the property and what to expect. Had my difference, then I probably would have recovered my money a whole lot faster. But it is what it is. It's part of the game. I'm still happy to have a cash flowing property when all is said and done.
Nice. All right. I want to recap that a little bit, because I think that was good information, not just on this particular property, but in general. And I'm actually curious to see how Ian Horowitz, birthday boy, thinks about this as well. So in essence, every time you buy a property, it doesn't really matter the price point. Obviously, the higher price point, you probably want a little bit more rate on return, or dollar per dollar. But you try to get $400 per unit per month, net, right? So, and a lot of that, a lot of people care about percentage, and I hear too many times that people, all they care about is percentage. Oh man, I got the wrong webcam on. That's my problem.
You actually, I had to shut down Instagram and everything. You made me feel like I did something wrong.
God. Trying to blame the birthday boy, man. Come on.
I know it's my goddamn birthday. I do what I want.
Dude, my real webcam's not even hooked up. Hold on.
I know you look like shit today.
Ian, are you doing anything for your birthday?
What's that?
Are you doing anything for your birthday?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and work at the office all day, and then I'm gonna go home.
Way better. Is that better?
That's about it.
Hang out with the wife and kids.
We can't go anywhere. Where are we gonna go?
Hey man, you can order out and sit in the park somewhere and eat food. That's what I'm doing.
I guess I got my nice packed lunch here today. So
isn't it Ryan's birthday too?
It is Ryan Tucker's birthday too.
Happy birthday, Ryan!
Happy birthday.
Yeah, where is he? Is he around there somewhere? Is he hiding behind you anywhere?
Someone's got to work in this place. So
okay, good enough. All right, so let's recap that again. So you're looking to make $400 per month net, and so many people, all they care about is percentage wise, and the percentage thing never works for me, because like, oh, I got a great cash on cash return on this thing, or I'm making a 20% return on these rentals, and it's like, yeah, but you make $100 a month. Well, what's the point? So okay, so you're looking to make, number one, $400 a month net. That's the first thing that you talked about. And your second most important thing that I grasped that I really like is you try to get all your capital back out of this thing, or pay back to you, I guess, in essence, earn back to you in a 24-month period, in a 2-year period. So let me ask you this question. If you were able to, let's say you got a hard money loan for $140,000 and then you needed $60,000 out of pocket or whatever, you're into it for $200,000, and then you were able to get a bank to give you $200,000 on the refi, to you, is that the same thing, that you got all your cash back? Or is that not the way that you're calculating it?
I mean, so the way I look at it is anything out of pocket, anything I have to come out of pocket, whether it be renovation costs, down payments, holding costs, whatever the number is, like I have it all wrapped up into one kit and caboodle. And when I'm done with the property, I want to be able to recover all that money within 24 months. It doesn't matter where it came from or how it's done. As long as it appraises right, and I know I can get my money back out, then I don't care. So I've had better deals than this. I had one house I bought from the USDA. It needed $9,000 in work, and I think I made like $90,000 off of the deal. So that was probably my best deal. But at the same time, it's like that's few and far between. It wasn't a strong rental market. wouldn't have made as much cash flow because of where it was at. It was in Brunswick, over in Western Maryland by Harper's Ferry. Cool town, but it's just not a cash flowing property, whereas these are. So that was more of a flip. This is going to be more of a buy and hold. So I like this one for the buy and hold aspect because I can get all my money back within, 31 months, I think it was.
Got it. Got it.
So,
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Let me do this. So you're right. Everybody looks at, cap rate this, cash and cash return. And I think those are great if that's your jam, but it's not mine. Cap rates are cool, but it doesn't give you it gives you a very narrow picture of, how much can I get a return on this money? Whereas mine is, I know very specifically how much I should be getting per month, how much I should be getting after a couple of years. I know this property is already going up in value, and I know this property, once I pay the mortgage down in 15 years, it's going to be worth, $500,000 because it's waterfront property. Worst case scenario, I knock these houses down, I put one big house up, or I put a foyer between the two and make them one gigantic house. Then the property value goes up $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. But at the $400 mark per month, you look and see what needs on a house. So this house, I'll put everything in: new roof, new HVAC, new kitchens, redid the floors. And I need to touch on that too, because I actually learned something the hard way. I did everything. So, but if something breaks at $400 a month, at the end of the year, if you need a new roof or HVAC system or windows or whatever it might be, that $400 a month will actually cover that expense. $100 a month isn't going to do anything for you. I mean, you'll make $1,200 a year. Yeah, that's great. But what happens if the HVAC goes out, or you need to get repairs, or there's a plumbing issue? Like, we just had a plumbing issue in Temple Hills, and it was $1,000 to have the guy come out, cut a new flush out, and then put a camera down it and clean it out. So, like, if I'm making $100 a month on that house in Temple Hills, then that's my profit for the entire year. Whereas this one, at $400, like, you'll be able to afford anything major that might happen. That's why I have the $400 number.
Ian, is your model similar to that?
Yeah, I would comment that our model is definitely similar. With that being said, $400 a month target, like Aaron was just finishing up and saying, and I totally agree with this, is that should not include your CapEx, right? So if you're buying a house and you haven't fully renovated it, or at least updated the major parts to it, you should probably be cash flowing quite a bit more, and probably be setting aside somewhere from $50 to $100 a month aside for CapEx above and beyond that. It's a similar business model to ours, where we go in and renovate them. CapEx hopefully is deferred for 10 to 15 years. And the cash flow allows us to profit more now, and set money aside going into the future. I did notice that, Aaron talked about no turnover costs and would be an additional $200 a month. I think that's more than a fair number to set aside, for turnover costs. That's actually really good. Most people don't even think about that. Oh, turnover costs, it's only going to be $2,000. BS. It's going to cost you $4,000 or $5,000. So to actually pre-plan and know what your life expectancy of your tenant is, you're saying potentially 3 to 5 years is kind of what I'm feeling out of you. It's kind of what our expectancy is. Now, the apartment building, we expect 12 to 18 months. So having those things and understanding what that capital cost is going to cost you are all things that you need to budget for, which Aaron looks like he did a very good job of doing. The other thing I like about this property, while we're ranting and raving, is the fact that it's 2 units. I'd be curious to see, I don't see it on here, what the taxes are for 2 properties on 1 tax lot. I would assume that the taxes are probably cheaper than having 2 properties on 2 tax lots, which is nice. And then also, if house A goes, is rented, and house B is rented, and B's tenant leaves, you still got house A rented, and you're still covering your nut. You might go down to $0 a month cash flow, but at least everything's being covered and you're not coming out of pocket, and it diversifies your portfolio. So it's all awesome things.
Yeah. So the taxes are good. So 2 things I want to take off that. The first is the taxes. So counties don't like, doesn't matter where you are, counties don't like having more than 1 unit on 1 property or 1 lot, because they can't tax it the way they would tax 2 separate lots, 2 separate entities. Even with water and sewer, not this property, but other properties, when you're using water and sewer, if you have one meter on for both houses and you're splitting it however you split it, they don't like that because they can't break it down to the house. So the county's not making as much money, but you are, like, you're recovering that. So if I split these up, I'd probably pay an additional, I don't know, $1,500, $2,500 a year in taxes. So does it make sense for me to ever subdivide this? If I had to sell it, yeah, maybe, but I don't think I'll ever have to. The other thing I want to take off of this is years ago, I actually took this from your playbook, Ian, you and Dan. So when you do renovations, you do it with the expectation that nothing's going to break within, say, 2 years. So almost everything I do, you'll see, a new HVAC system, as long as it needs it, usually a new roof, new windows, redo the floors, all the major upgrades that need to be done, and with the expectation that they shouldn't really need anything from you for at least 2 or 3 years. So it puts off the CapEx, your renovation repair costs, which is what CapEx is, a couple of years on the road, so you can make that profit for those 2 or 3 years or whatever it might be, and not have to worry about the turnover.
100%. And that changes a lot. I mean, I think there's somebody out of the three of us that didn't do the best renovations in the world, and my phone would always be ringing, hey man, hey man, hey man. I think that's why that one person sitting on this conversation right now might be selling some of their units because,
Damn, take a dig.
It's my birthday. I get to talk shit today. But no, seriously, Jason, would you want to comment that it causes more of a stress? I mean, did it cause you more stress? Not. Do you think if you had a property that was 100% updated with no headaches, would you keep them, or would you be liquidating right now?
Yeah, I mean, good question. And it would depend. I mean, I see both sides. I see the sides on our personal experience, and I see the sides when we do loans for people. The one side is, they do a lot of heavy lifting on the front end, and potentially when they go over construction budget, because a lot of people go over construction budgets on their buy and holds, that they're into them a little bit more than they want to be into them, right? So their leverage ends up being a little bit higher, but at the end, maybe it doesn't cash flow as well, but at least you have less headaches, less headaches in the mix, because your target was to try to get into that property at 65 or 70 cents on the dollar. You ended up getting it at 75 or 80 cents on the dollar, right? So your capital costs are a little bit more, your leverage is a little bit more, but you have a good brand new house with less renovations. On the other side, and I think on the long run, that's probably the better option. The other side of it is you try to get into that house at 60, 65 cents on the dollar. You get into that house at that price. You have lower leverage. Not everything's remodeled. You have a life expectancy of a few more years for your roof. So you decide not to do your roof, or there's certain things, not that you cut corners, but they don't need immediate attention right now. So you let them be, and you have better cash flow short term on it. But then, as this portfolio grows and time goes by 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you have a lot of huge capital expenditures, and all of a sudden it's, I need a new roof. I need new appliances. I need big ticket costs, and you're jumping into you're cramming down your pockets to try to come up with that money. And if you're a smart investor, you took that extra cash flow and stored that away for these times. So I don't know. I see both sides of it. I mean, I think a lot of people want to get into these like turnkey deals, or they want to get in these deals where they don't need to do a ton of construction, right? But then at the end of the day, you get themselves in trouble. And that's kind of where we were on this. We didn't do full gut renovations on a lot of our projects, and we've owned them for 5 or 6 years. And as time's going by, my turnover costs are expensive. My turnover costs are 5 figures now on some of these projects. So then does it make sense to spend 5 figures to turn over something, or does it make sense to just spend a little bit more and sell it on the retail market? So I don't disagree with you.
I think you have a nice equity play, the way you did them, that, like you said, your turnover is going to be high, and just for a few bucks more, you can sell them off, and your equity position is probably way higher than us on that. So, I mean, that's a very fair statement. I would just say one thing. It's hard enough to renovate a house with nobody in it. It's that much harder to renovate a house with a tenant in it. That's why we don't do construction for homeowners. We don't want that headache of dealing with somebody's house. So just something for people to think about and chew on. And there is no right answer. I see Aaron's got some nice pictures of the house that he I makes me want to move there.
No, I was trying to tick it off the numbers just so we could have something else to look at other than our ugly mugs.
Fair enough.
So, I agree with both of you guys. So there's certain things that once you start renovating places, you'll start learning. Do a single hung instead of a double hung, because a double hung window, they might stick something inside of it and bust it. Whereas this as a makeshift curtain. Or I like putting granite in. I know Ian, you do too. I get builder grade from one of the guys I work with. He gives me builder grade material for less than anybody else, and it's cheaper to put that in than for mica and less headache. So as you start learning certain things when you start renovating properties, what goes into it, what's your cost savings, what's your dollar amount, and what's the return on it. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes you have to learn from somebody else. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way.
Well, and I also think the market is competition, right? Where we are. Me and Jason are in competition on some streets. That we might get a tenant that he might not. Based on the condition of the property. Now down there in Indian Head, I'm pretty sure that view right there with the sun setting over or sun coming up, I don't know which way we're looking, that would sell it. Do you need granite countertops? Do you need certain amenities there? Like we provide washer dryers. Everyone else says, well, why are you going to spend that few $100? Well, that few $100 amenity usually helps us rent our units out that much faster. And every month you're down. That if I can save 1 month, I just earned back a washer dryer cost, and these are all things that you start to think about when you have more exposure. Did we think about all this stuff when we first started? No, but as we've grown, we realize just things like that. Like you said, what type of from the type of windows to the type of flooring that you put in, the countertops, whatever it may be, it's definitely interesting. How long did it take to rent these properties? Did you have a long time on market, being in a rural area?
No, it was turnaround. So the military base down there is a big draw. And being waterfront property, you don't have a whole lot of those pop up on the rental market. So I think turnaround on these things was under 30 days, even in the wintertime. So let me pull the screen up again. So first I'll show you how it was listed. So they put it in the market for $245 in February. And then I ended up buying it $816, and it was a 4-month turnaround between completion of renovation to rentability. So you can see the numbers there. Danielle was my realtor when I did this. She's helped me on a bunch of other properties that we've done. But if you see, like, it goes pending sale, pending sale, pending sales, because people couldn't get financing for it, like I mentioned earlier, just because the amount of work the house needed. The smaller of the two houses, it looked like they were breeding dogs inside of it. The floors were destroyed, the walls, the windows were destroyed, they were eaten through. It was in pretty rough shape. So this is why I was watching it for a couple months, because I want to see, how the price did, and can I make it work with these numbers, and I couldn't. So once they dropped down to 160, that's kind of when I jumped on it. The area wise, there's a neighborhood right here where it's a co-op. The neighborhood that I'm in is right next to it, but it's just a better atmosphere in my opinion. And if you're looking at a map down to the left, there's a military base at the end of Indian Head Highway where this little circle is. And so I get a lot of military people down there, and it's a commutable neighborhood / area to Washington, D.C. because it's a straight shot up Indian Head Highway through PG County. This is the houses when I first bought them. I needed everything up to and including I think we need to sister up the joists under the houses because they were starting to rot away. So we repaired the ones that were having issues or replaced them. But you can see the waterfront property in the background. I'm a big proponent of networking and maintaining friendships with some of the guys. So like one of the guys that was one of my recruits in the fire department, his name is Sean Schaefer, and the whole family are a bunch of workhorses. They came out and did my roofs for me. I had a buddy of mine that went to high school with me, Alvaro. He did all the painting and drywall on it. One of the guys I work with in the fire department, I asked him for recommendations down there of what the property might need for like windows and doors and stuff like that. He's like, "Oh, I got a guy for you." So he gave me his go-to guy who replaced all the windows. So you kind of see the kind of shape it's in here. It needed a little bit of everything. I'll go through some other pictures. We'll do the before pictures obviously first, and then I'll jump over to the other album and do the during and renovation pictures. So there's two houses. This house sits 3-bed, 1-bath. It's on the side of a cliff. It's about a 15-foot cliff. So when I did this, and I should have known better. So you see all the old stains on the property. So we sanded the floors down and we redid them, and I didn't put a darker stain on the floor, which I absolutely should have. Like that's a learning experience for me. So I like to say it gives it character, but I think I just made a misstep and didn't sand it darker. I did the same color on every single property. It's Repose Gray from Sherwin-Williams with a white trim. I try to get the 2-panel doors because I think they look better if they need to be replaced. One of the guys I work with, two of the guys I work with, Kenny Gaetano and Eric Caleric do almost all my HVAC work. They did everything for me. They put all the new bells and whistles in this property. We tore the bathroom out to the studs. We bought new cabinetry. But the house, if you took this house, it's a nice enough house, and put it somewhere else, it's like, oh, yeah, it's a nice little house. It's cute. It's cool. But at the same time, like, it's nothing special. The only thing special about this one is the fact that it's waterfront property. One thing that I've never seen before that I saw with these houses is that it's actually a septic tank that spills over into a public sewer because it's the end of the line, which is what these things are. I've never heard of it before. I've never seen it since. Basically, it's just plumbing into a septic tank, and then it's pumped out into a public sewer because it was cheaper for the county to do it this way rather than run a sewer line all the way down there. It was interesting. The views are great. This is Virginia on the far side, but it's just a typical run-of-the-mill, sand the floors, paint the walls, repair the damage, put new windows in, put a new roof on, and that's what it was. I think we talked about this before, is I do layouts of all the properties. I do 3D layouts. Especially nowadays with today's temperature of the market, if you don't have a video or the layout of the property, it's hard to get the property looked at with everything going on right now. So I think these cost me $10 to have made from somebody on Upwork in the Philippines. As long as I sketched it out and drew it out and measured it out, he just put it into a 3D model like this on floorplanner.com. Totally worth it. A lot of people like to see the layout of the building. Some people say you give them too much, have them come in and take a look at it. But I like it. I think it's a big added bonus when you're trying to market a property so they can see what they're dealing with.
Nice. And one other thing to add in that from a few minutes ago when we were talking is, I think it's important for investors to understand the types of deals that they want to get involved in and how active or passive they are. And I think this also kind of goes back to Aaron's model of he wants to net $400 a month per particular project. So probably going from, however you're watching this, from up to down, you probably have the most passive investor compared to the most active investor. And there's no rhyme or there's no right or wrong. It just depends on what you are. For instance, Aaron's probably more active than I know for a fact than me, but probably even more active than Ian. And in general, that's what his model is. He's got, a good bit of very, very, very strong assets that he owns. He's very actively maintained. I'm sure he's got, every single one of his tenants' number in his cell phone and vice versa, because oh yeah, you have a property manager. You have a property manager in all of them. Okay, I take that back. Well, either way, you have a lot more active involvement on some of these things. Like half the projects all the properties I own, I've never even been inside of them. So I'm very, very passive on those. So again, but my full-time business is lending. The investing and the rental side is not. So it depends on who they are, right? To me, the way we look at it is we just look at it as deploying capital. It's a way for us to deploy capital into a different type of investment vehicle that spits out a good return. And we look at it based on cash flow. We look at it based on appreciation. We look at it based on risk, and we look at it based on, how much time and headaches. And to go through, what Ian said earlier on related to, unloading some of these properties. We looked at the numbers. Anytime we have a turnover, we consider selling a property. Every time we have a turnover, if someone's in a property and their lease is up, our game plan is always to extend that lease. But if they move out and we have a turnover, that's an opportunity for us to go in and look at and do the math and look at the numbers to make sense of it. Does it make sense to turn this property over and re-rent it, or does it make sense to spend a little bit more money and sell it? And lately, a lot of them have made sense to sell. So again, I think it just depends on who you are and how active you want to be. Most landlords I know are pretty active. Their model is buying rentals. They try to find good deals, and they're able to make up and get better margins on deals and opportunities because they're active with their tenants and they're active with their projects and they know what's going on and they can problem solve deals. I'll let Ian kind of share his experience, but I'm guessing, as his portfolio is nearing 100 properties, it's hard to be active on every single one of them. You need to have a construction manager. You need to have some sort of someone working with tenants. You need to have other parties involved. So again, we can relate all of this back to the E-Myth like we typically relate a lot of business ventures to, related to the technician or the manager or the visionary. And again, it's not a shot on anybody. It doesn't matter where you are. I might be a technician in this one business, and I might be a manager in this business. I might be a visionary in this business. It just depends on where you want to spend your time and resources and capital.
Yeah, that's 100% right. We're actually at the point now where I think yesterday we both said, F it, we need to find somebody for the office. We're at that point where it's just been, I've been trying to get out of the office all day. But we're just inundated with paperwork that has to get done. So we finally decided we're at that point of growing. It is very hard, and again, it's how you want to manage it. If you're going to actively manage it, just because you're making up that difference and you're saving 10% on your property manager, 8%, whatever the heck it is, you're not really saving it. You're swapping time for money. We wanted to do that because we had a vision to grow our portfolio to a large scale, which we're headed towards or we're at, and we're okay with it, right? We want the office. We're good managing this thing on a day-to-day basis versus someone like, maybe Aaron, where he's like, okay, I want to do some other things, or Jason, like, hey, I got some other things I want to do, I'm willing to give up 8% so I have some freedom, So just pick that business model when you start. It's not just easy you got to remember, if you're buying a rental property and you have a full-time job and that tenant calls, how are you handling that call? Do you have a system in place, or do you have, at midnight when your tenant calls and says that the house is flooded out, what are you going to do? How far do you live from the property? Do you have boots on the ground? That was one of the challenging things that I was talking with Steve on the storage stuff, is that, it's in Louisiana. You can't just get in your car and drive down the street and say, hey man, the gate operator is broken. Like, you need to have the right contractors in place. And that goes the same for single family investing. That's why we're big on backyard investing, because you can control some of these things. So, but enough about me. Aaron, I love the deal. Find me a double lot here in Baltimore and I'll do it.
Yeah. So I think you guys are both right. That's one of the reasons to get the property manager. I think if you have over more than 2 or 3 properties and a full-time job, you're just asking for a headache and no life on the side. So for me, if you get a property manager at 8 or 10%, it's like, on the average rent, saying $1,500 to $2,000, you're only paying, $120, $150 a month to not have a headache and not have to answer the phone at midnight, which has come in fantastic for me. The lady who backed up the toilet and the plumbing last week or 2 weeks ago, having a property manager, manage that and, do all the phone calls and deal with the headache, at $120 a month is absolutely worth it to me. So yeah, for me, they don't have, only one of my tenants has my numbers because he was a holdover from when I purchased the property. I just kept him as a tenant. So yeah, the property manager to me is, if you have one or two properties, great. But if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 100, whatever your number is, then it starts to be a headache. But yeah, in terms of the multiple properties, so this is the kind of condition it's in. When I said, spend $10, draw it out yourself, you can see these very rough sketches of the layout. You just get a laser measure or you get a tape measure, run the building, send it to somebody, find them on Upwork, and then they'll draw out the schematics of the property for you, like either a 2D like these or a 3D. But this is a pretty typical, tear out. You tear out the kitchen, tear out the bathroom, paint the walls, replace what needs to be replaced. You see, I pulled a tape measure out here. I had a guy match up the oak floors, and then patch them back in with the newer stuff after he renovated them. This is one of the rooms that was, I think, a breeding room, which is why the floors are all warped. I had to tear all these out, tear the subfloor out. You see the holes in the walls where the dog chewed on the sills and the walls. The house was settling. You see this a lot in abandoned houses where they have a board bolted in so people can't break in and mess it up even worse. A lot of this stuff is pretty typical for the stuff that we've seen. I mean, you guys see it more in Baltimore than I do, but DC sees a whole lot of this. But you have to go through the whole process of doing the tear out and doing, there was 4 layers of laminate on top of this floor in the kitchen. We had to tear all that out, and I realized we had, oh my God, the HGTV, I have hardwood floors, yay. But they're so destroyed, I can't do anything with them. So I had to either patch them up or, do a tile floor. So I opted to do the patchwork and put it back in there. So I have hardwood floors in the kitchen, which, it could be good, could be bad.
What?
I always go down to the properties and take a look and see what's getting done, because some contractors to babysit, some contractors you don't. Luckily, I've been able to work with a lot of guys that I'm friends with, and I've been friends with for a long time, so they can give me updates with the good, the bad, and the ugly. But yeah, this is just a typical renovation. The only thing different about this is it's a waterfront property and it's 2 houses on 1 lot.
All right, so I love it. I think you did an awesome job. I'm jealous. I wish it was closer to here. I'm going to ask you a goofy question. You got to be serious. If you had to do this deal again, why wouldn't you do this deal?
A specific deal, waterfront, 2 houses?
This property here, if you had the opportunity again, knowing what you know now, why wouldn't you do the deal? Is there something that would scare you and push you away from doing it again?
No, not at all. I mean, this is the first multiple house lot I've done, and it just makes sense. It's just like buying a duplex or a triplex. The only hiccup is finding comps for that house. Because if you get a hard money loan on this thing and you get stuck with, not being able to find comps and banks won't give you money for it, now you're stuck with a hard money loan that, obviously they want to get their money back too.
Right.
So that's the only caveat. So on the front end, I would front load this whole deal, which is what I did with this one, luckily, and just say, is there a bank out there that will finance this? Okay, cool. So I have a way out. I have an exit strategy. And the other one is, are there comps out there, or can I find an appraiser who can give me comps that will make up the numbers, not make up the numbers, but find the numbers I need it to be. Because if you want to break this down, to say you can't find a 2-unit house or a 2-house property, a 3-house property anywhere around you, will he take the combined 2-bed house and a 3-bed house and make it a 5-bed, 2-bath property and then comp it that way? Yeah, maybe. If it's a good appraiser, I think he does that. And then you can find the numbers that make sense that way. But it all just comes back to your appraiser. A buddy of mine just had a multi-unit in Halfway, Maryland, I think it is, outside of Hagerstown. He bought it for $33,000. It's going to be a good moneymaker for a long time. I was finding comps. The guy that he did the appraisal tried to comp it to a house that was on the market, another house that was stripped down to the studs, and another house that was, I think another house was like a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house, and none of them comped to a duplex. So he had to appeal the appraisal to get it back to a realistic number. And that's where, once he had the appeal process was done, he was able to get he's able to get his money back. I got to give him a shout today and see.
Nice. Yeah, no, the appraisers can definitely check it out. And, that's definitely something.
Yeah, we'll kind of end with one other thing related to this with Aaron, because I was pretty familiar with it because we did the hard money loan on the front end, and I remember talking to Aaron about it multiple times, and as well as not really sure what the value was. Most private lenders and hard money lenders care about the collateral, but they also care very much about the character of the borrower and who they're working with, who they're partnering with, to determine if they have other means to get out of the deal and pay it back. And Aaron obviously certainly did, so that was a big thing. But one of the things I liked that he did was he had a few ideas of who was going to do the takeout loan. He kind of had everything from start to finish figure out. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go buy a property and get a loan, and then I'm going to go figure it out after the fact. He knew exactly what was going to happen down the road, and he had contingency plans, and he had, an exit plan 2, 3, 4, 5, just in case it wasn't able to work. So I think that's important, because a deal like this, that's slightly outside of the box, potentially, and you might not be able to get some conventional bank or some conforming loan on a project like this. You got to think outside the box, and you got to figure out other options of what could potentially happen. So it ends up in, like a really, really strong deal. And I don't think there was any doubt in your mind that you didn't think it was strong from the beginning, but being able to have a few different contingency plans made it work. Let's go through a few quick questions real quick. So Cynthia, as you can see, we posted all of our email addresses below. Happy to chat with yourself or your son related to investing, lending, things like that. Whatever you need.
If he goes to realestatereservepodcast.com, you can also find copies of all of our books on there, which are also very easy reads. I think they're still free. You just pay for the shipping. So I think no matter how he wants to invest in real estate, you get some good info out of them.
Yep. Aaron, what do you think? Should we do a group happy birthday?
Oh, come on, man.
To Ian or what?
Unless you guys are getting naked, we don't need to sing happy birthday.
Yeah, I definitely texted. Oh, Pete, are you in on this? I texted. I texted Pete on this. We'll. You think I can get him on screen too? How many people can we get up on this screen?
I don't know. You're in charge.
All right, everybody, bear with us for 1 sec. Bear with us,
dude. This
is Ryan in the office. Ian. Is Ryan?
Should I FaceTime him?
Yeah. Wait. Pete, I don't know your freaking email.
All right.
God, turn that junk off. Listen. Pete, hop on that link I just sent. I just put it in the comments. Hop on that. I'll throw you on screen. Actually, you know what? Whoever wants to get thrown on screen, click on that link.
Hey. Pulling a car out of here now. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can see
that Ryan
and Foster.
Hey, Ryan.
We're live. They want to sing happy birthday to us.
Wait, you gotta wait though. We got more people hopping on.
Hold on, look at this.
Oh yeah, look, they're towing a car out of the they're towing a car off the parking lot.
Where parking lot is that? Is that the West Virginia property?
Nah, it's the Baltimore one.
Oh.
Did they not take it?
Oh, he's taking it. Waiting for the guy to come out.
There you go. Got him.
Gotta be quick.
Get that money. Shit, there it goes.
Go get him, brothers.
It's over.
These kids.
Chance, you're not getting anybody on here.
They hate me.
We got people coming on. Don't you worry.
So just to keep on rapping about real estate until we get some people on here, I looked at a couple of these properties in Southern Maryland and up in it's usually more in the suburban rural settings. But I found a couple of them even on LoopNet, which is where the deals go to die. where he had multiple trailers on the property. And each trailer was making $500 a month income. So I'll be a trailer park owner. I don't care. But definitely look on like Zillow and Facebook in the rural areas and just put in, type in keywords. I like the scrolling. Happy birthday, Ian.
Why you made it, Ian?
The Tucker, we're just debating about how great of a day it is. I think he's got a hard money banker. No, he doesn't have his hard money banker shirt on. I think he's we got a car getting towed out. He's handling that.
Is Dan in the office?
He is. He's in the other office.
I know if I were the boss, I'd let my employees off for their birthday. That's just me, though.
All right, are you guys ready? You guys all ready to do this or what?
What's up, guys?
Come on, man.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Guys are the worst.
Happy birthday, dear Ryan and Ian.
Happy birthday to you. GGB, boy.
You're the best. GGB.
Go get him, brother.
Go get him.
Yeah, Ryan's sending you Cash App links for all of us. Don't be shy.
Yeah, let me get some masks, Belden.
Belden's working in a warehouse. All right, well, now I'm just
Yeah, we need like that was some bad singing if I can't say so myself.
I would listen back on that. If you listen when we listen on the podcast, I can't wait to hear it. So, but
all right. Do we need to talk offline without Aaron, or are we good?
No, Aaron, thank you, man. I enjoyed that case study.
All right, guys.
Any comment? Any of your contact info? Put it below, and we good.
All right.
Bye, brother.
Bye,
Well, at least I knew who the 5 watchers were.
What'd you say?
I said, buy some flags from me. I have time to make them now.
Oh yeah. Wildfire.
Give a little plug real quick for that.
All right, so I do. Am I back up on the screen yet?
Yeah, you're back in the screen.
All right, so I make a lot of flags. I donate part of the proceeds to different groups and various things, whether it be special needs or burn victims or whatever it might be. I think our next ones we're doing a skeet and trap shooting competition over on the Eastern Shore. I'm donating one of these flags to them to raffle off. I always do the donations to the guys. I can make a lot of stuff. You guys can hang them at the house. I think a couple guys, actually, you guys have a couple of the flags I've bought or built over the years. So take a look at it. The Wildfire Creations. I'm on Facebook. Yeah, I got free time now, so I'm caught up.
Nice. Yeah. Keep talking so I can post this on Instagram.
I just got a laser engraver called a Glowforge a couple months ago, and I made these ornaments. The Epstein didn't hang himself ornaments, and I actually paid for like a third of the Glowforge just making these stupid little ornaments.
Hell yeah!
So if you guys have logos or something, send them over to me. I need the files, and I can. I'll have them doctored up so I can make either ornaments or something to hang somewhere.
Brother,
didn't I make one for you before? No, I guess I didn't.
No, yeah, we got one. I say we're commissioning you to mass produce them.
I got 6 of them, I think. We got them for everybody. We got them for a bunch of people in our office.
That's right, you did. I knew I'd make something for y'all. But yeah, I got time now. Once I'm wrapping up this the West Virginia property, I'll have more time to make stuff. So if you guys want to decorate the houses, I think Pete used one of these for decorating his one of his duplexes or properties up in Baltimore area. Yeah, pick a state, pick a color, pick a backdrop, pick a flag. I'll make it.
Oh, I got it. Oh, shoot. I do have one of mine right in front of you. I don't have my nice flag because that's my basement, but I got this.
Yeah, there you go. I need to do Equity Warehouse next.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be your birthday present.
Thanks, man.
Do it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all.
Buddy. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right,
Nice.
well,
What else we got? What else? We're at the 1 hour mark. What else we got? Anything else we got to talk about?
no, we'll save it for tomorrow. Tomorrow, you recommended a really good book for me.
Oh, dude, this thing still smells like smoke. It's good, and I got this a year ago.
You recommended a really good book, which I grinded out on my 3-hour flight down and back, and my 2-hour ride commute to and from work. About
Finish it.
Yeah, am I subtle? And there's a lot of good points in there, and I think we should go over it tomorrow.
All right, let's do a book review tomorrow. I love book reviews. That's some of my favorite content, actually.
Yep. So
because I love listening to and watching other people do book reviews. Cool.
Yep. So we're gonna book review that tomorrow, and Friday
what time are we going on tomorrow?
I don't know.
I can do early afternoon. I can't do before like lunchtime.
No, let's do like 1 o'clock.
Okay, cool. Oh, technically we had a meetup group tomorrow.
All right, perfect. That's what we'll do. Or should we do it tomorrow night?
That'll be our. No, we don't have to do it tomorrow night. We'll do it at 1 o'clock.
All right, tomorrow 1. It'll be our monthly.
You want to do multiple books or one book?
Let's definitely get through Am I Subtle. There's a lot of good information in there, and then we'll see where our conversation takes us. That's why we do these. They're not scripted out. We literally we don't pre-plan them. We just say, hey, who's got a guest or what are we doing tomorrow? And that's how these things come about. They're completely organic. So if you got any ideas, any book suggestions, any information, please send it in, and we will gladly talk about it.
If anyone's read that book, that's what we're talking about tomorrow. That book right there.
It's very good.
And actually, if anyone has read that book and wants to hop in and talk about their takes, or if you know anyone who's read that book, reach out on that. But book reviews are fun because you know what's interesting about reading in general is, have you ever read any of like the Cliff Notes, the services that supply Cliff Notes? So like you can have the audio book for like, it's whatever, 20 minutes instead of like 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You ever been involved in any of those services?
Yeah.
So, and I have, and I've gone through them. The problem is you read a book, I read a book, whoever reads a book, we're all going to get different points out of that particular book. And depending on what part of your life, it's like we were talking about with the E-Myth, whoever we had on the other day who had just finished the E-Myth for the first time. I don't know if it was Zach or whoever, but one of the interesting parts of it is he was reading it and he was like, or whoever we were talking to, they're like, oh shit, I'm the technician. I need to work to be the manager. Like, I've read the E-Myth when I was a technician. I read the book when I was a manager. I read the book when I was a visionary. I've read the book multiple times because I got different things out of the book every time I've read it, depending on what part of my business or my life I was in. So I think those Cliff Notes, while they're good in general as an overview, it doesn't do it a lot of justice. I mean, both my business partner, Chris Hadd, and I are in the same spots in our business and life for the most part. We're like very similar spots. And we both will read a book and we get different intakes on it, different insights on it. And then we'll collaborate and he might pick up something I didn't pick up and vice versa. So I like doing these book reviews because just having multiple people talking about them after the fact and recapping, I just think there's a ton of value to it.
Yeah, and if we finish early, we can recap this book right here. It's probably one of the best books I ever read. No, I think we'll get a lot out of it.
I can't say I've ever read that one, so unfortunately I can't give you any feedback.
But you know that
thanks.
You read the Cliff Notes.
Oh, there you go. Aaron's still with
yeah.
Aaron's still with us. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. But anyway, we will do that tomorrow. I look forward to it. I think it'll be a really good time. I'm starving. I'm trying to eat my birthday cake. And
you got birthday cake?
No, I got rice and green beans and carrots. This is what my life's been reduced to. So
you got a vegan birthday?
It's absolutely pathetic. I got my gallon of water. I got my fruit. I'm ready to go. So
I love it.
Anyway, we'll be live tomorrow at 1. If you've read that book or you have any other books that you'd like to jump on and talk about, Jason can get you the link. It's ian@equitywarehouse.com or jason@hardmoneybankers.com. And I think that's it, man. I think that wraps it up.
All right, brother. Later on.
See you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, Thank you for tuning in.